Now that we've had a chance to practice a bunch of CSS and to learn some basic HTML tags, it's time to start looking at some more professional looking layouts and how we can achieve the results that we see here. This is the page that we're going to be working with today. Before we get started and dive into the HTML and the CSS for this, it's good to take a step back and to understand mentally what the chunks of the page are. So we want to know what the big areas of the page are because it's going to affect the way that we tag, and then it's going to affect the way that we move things around using CSS. So to give you an example, I'm going to draw some rectangles here. And this is not something that I would do with actual rectangles, but it's my mental model when I'm designing a website and coding. So I'm not a designer, but I do work with designs that other people make, and so we're going to be visualizing what the code is going to be like. So we have a big page here. There's an area at the top, which I'm boxing in right now, which I would consider header content. So there's a logo at the top, there's some kind of imagery here, and so this whole thing, if I were to label this, I would probably label this as header. Continuing on, so let me label these sub pieces. So this area, which I can't quite draw to the edge of because otherwise I'll hit the other box. I'm in Acrobat hell. One more try here. Okay. So this area is the logo area. I would draw this to the edges, but I can't get there without selecting my other rectangle by accident. This is the navigational area, I would say. The nav, so that's this area. And then down here, I'm not sure what this is. It's maybe like, it may be the background on the whole header. It may be a subheading area of the header, but I'm going to bracket it as its own thing, but it actually could be a background image on the whole, like the whole area up here. Don't really have a solid idea for that right now. This process is similar to the mental process that you go through when deciding whether something is, say, an unordered list with a heading above it versus something like a DT and a DD for the description lists. There is not one right answer here, but as you code more and more and as you work with content management systems like WordPress, you'll start to see that there are lots of conventions, and so you don't really have to think about this a lot of times. You just have to be familiar with what kinds of things are in these general areas and be able to work with them. So that concludes this header area. There's a footer down here, which I'll draw one. Draw a box around. So this is my footer. And then this area in the middle I would consider content. So I'll draw a box around it. So you may remember from previous week that we were talking about like div ID equals container. Div ID equals content is another common name for this area. And within the content, there's often a sidebar. You probably have seen like a content off to one side in many websites, and it's not necessarily the main content area. It's like supporting things. There may be, well, there's many things. So there's often something like the main content on one side, and then the secondary content on the other. So I'm going to just put this box around this. So this most popular films, it could be part of the main content, it could be secondary content. Now that I have my basic mental idea about where all these things are, let's take a look at the tags that we've been given in the Kevin Bacon site, and then this will be our jumping off point to talking about the HTML5 semantic markup tags.